This is the Riverview Neighborhood Association meeting for July. I am Robin Tanter, the secretary/treasurer, and this is Carlos Echevarria.
Oh, you don't need to say that.
He's our meeting coordinator. Becky McElhaney, our communications director and the alderperson for the Riverview, District 6. She's unable to be here tonight. It sounds like she might try to come later. She was very disappointed, but there is a city council meeting tonight. So she said she did feel it was important to be there so that she could be representing us. We'll share just a few updates that she wanted to share. And then we do have a great speaker here tonight, Schock, the Economic Development Manager for the City of Wausau. So via email, these are a few things that Becky asked me to share. And first of all, we do have a sign-in sheet. If you could just indicate your name and email address. Also, Becky wanted to make sure that everyone has her contact information. So I wrote down here her name, her phone number, and her email address. So if you ever want to contact her regarding concerns or questions, go ahead and jot those down. Okay. Let's see. I know there has been some concern regarding speeding on a few of the roads around here, in particular Golf Club Road, Marquardt Road, and Woodland Bridge Road. I'm not sure how many of you are next door that site online, but there's been a lot of chatter about that. So Becky has, she said she asked Police Chief Hardell for a sit-down to discuss. She had a good conversation with Captain Barnes and the Sector Lieutenant, and we'll have more of a plan next month. She also said that everyone should expect to see more of a police presence in the neighborhood shortly, so that hopefully people will start thinking that they might get caught speeding and slow down. And let's see if she mentioned anything else with regard to that. She did talk to other city council members who expressed that it is a citywide problem, not just in the Riverview area. And then another important point was also on Nextdoor, someone posted that there was an incidence of paintballs being shot at a home, particularly on Carl Street, and then one was reported on Marquardt/Crestwood. I'm not sure what the result of that was, and maybe Officer Stetzer will have some information, but Becky said that if you see anyone stopping in front of houses late at night or you hear loud thuds of a paintball gun, just to call it in. They can damage homes. It sounds like they didn't necessarily in these two cases, but it is just something for us to watch. And I think those are the main updates. Do you have any questions before we start with the speaker? Okay, great. Then I would like to introduce Schock. Like I said, he's the Economic Development Manager for the City of Wausau, and he can talk a little bit about the riverfront developments, the economic strategy of the city, and then some news regarding the law.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Carlos. So I'm Chris. I work for the city, obviously. I'm fairly new to Wausau. I've been here a year and a half or so. And lots of colorful things to talk about. So here's my cards, of course, if you want to take one. I don't maybe have enough for everyone, but feel free. And if you like, if you want to contact, obviously feel free to call me anytime, email me, let us know at the city if you have more questions, because I probably won't be able to answer all of your questions today, or your get your ideas or whatnot. We also have a mall information line, a feedback line, which takes your ideas and comments, and if you have questions and stuff, we respond obviously to all of those, and that is 261-6688. So you feel to let us know if you have questions and things like that. And I don't want to talk too much because I found that in these type of meetings, we really want to ask questions. It's probably most valuable for you to ask questions, and we'll probably rehash stuff on the questions you ask anyway. So, but as Becky has been doing an outstanding job as an older person in getting up to speed with the work of the city, and kind of understanding the many dynamics that go on in the city. We wanted to at least have time to talk to, get your feedback on various things. Obviously the riverfront project is a very important step for the city. As maybe many of you know, the city bought, purchased over a series of years, then did environmental remediation and did planning and went through an RFP process for the future of that area. That's like 16 acres along the river, just north of the eye clinic, and those that property has been a key part of the city's kind of redevelopment strategy. So the plan for that was adopted last year and went to a request for proposals process specifically for it. That plan detailed the idea of creating a vibrant area that would maximize taxable value, obviously for the city, would enhance and diversify housing, and build mixed-use properties that could expand jobs and have the opportunity. And of course, the public improvements as well along the river. So the public improvements is under construction now. A lot of those are, and those will be finished in late October. That includes a new wharf, extensive extension of the River's Edge Trail, overlook areas and plazas that are along the river, and kind of park space and other improvements. Also under construction is the Wausau on the Water project, which is a family entertainment project. It's received obviously loans from the city, and they will be building a bar and a grill, a kind of high-end arcade, event space, a laser tag arena, just kind of different things that are family-oriented kind of entertainment. That's under construction now. It will be open in November. If you'd like to see pictures of the riverfront project, wausaudevelopment.com is our website, and you can go there. There's a tab specifically for the riverfront, and you can see pictures of the park proposals, of various things that are kind of going on, public improvements wise. It's under construction. So, what was the other topic you wanted to talk about? So on the economic development strategy piece, one of the key strategies for the city over the past year has been the kind of explicitly the diversification of housing types within the city. Because when you meet with a lot of our largest employers and businesses, they note again and again that the attraction and retention of workforce is a major issue that they face. Just kind of objectively, Wausau is in general very successful economically. It's actually this year rated by Area Development, which is a magazine that rates all metropolitan areas based on many different metrics. It's number one in the state of Wisconsin for wage growth and for job growth. So there's a lot of positive things that are kind of going on in the community. But when you talk with employers, intrinsically you always come down to that discussion regarding housing. So what we've consciously been working on is a goal to diversify that housing type. And so our projects have revolved around that. Obviously, the East Riverfront project, the first phase will involve 52 new high-end apartments, which are really kind of unheard of for the Wausau market before. There's really not a building that's like it. It will have kind of really high-end amenities. It'll be very marketable to empty nesters and to young professionals, and kind of folks looking for an urban lifestyle, underground parking, and those kind of amenities too. So every unit has a balcony. Many of them face the river, obviously. We'll also build 6 townhomes, which will be along the river as well, and a mixed-use building, which will include office and retail and things like that on the riverfront. So the first phase is $20 million. It's under construction, kind of now, and that's a big deal for Wausau because there's very few projects in the city's history that would total $20 million worth of construction alone. So it's really exciting to see that come together. And it's something that many of our peers are already doing, so it's important for us to stay competitive. If you go to Eau Claire, they're building a very large project called the Confluence Project. It's right where the Chippewa river runs in there, and that project is, includes again extensive housing and office and other amenities, and so it's going on. You see Oshkosh doing a lot of riverfront redevelopment projects as well, and Green Bay. And obviously when we talk about competition for development resources and for jobs and for workforce especially, those are our peers. Those are our peers, and they're our competitors. Because obviously a lot of graduates, would be looking at Wausau, would also look at places like Eau Claire or Oshkosh or the Fox Valley and whatnot. So, that's a very important topic in our mind. In addition to the East Riverfront, we're also building Wausau's first brownstones, which is a very exciting kind of project as well. Those will be row houses. They're individually sold, so they're not rentals, but they have like a common wall. And those will be built on 3rd Street across from like Caddy Corner from the Glass Hat. So folks know where that is, like 3rd and Short Street. The city has assembled parcels in that neighborhood for quite some time, and that's kind of ongoing. The first phase of that this year will be $4 million or so worth of new townhome, brownstone, row house, whatever you want to call them, but they're kind of like urban formatted homes. They have, garages that face the alley. They have a small pocket yard in the back, and they have like a front porch and a walk up. You'd see this type of maybe housing type in a larger city or a different type of city. And so it's been a goal of Wausau to have this type of housing that we feel is very marketable to nesters and young professionals, which are both growing demographic sectors that are important for the city to attract and retain. Then you have on the other spectrum, we're very cognizant to make sure that we're developing a wide array of housing choices, not just high-end houses, but houses for every spectrum. And so then the Sabo Supply building will also be renovated this year. Many of you may know where that is on 1st Street, just kind of near tracks from the Riverfront projects. That project will be renovated into 26 apartments. It'll start this year, finish next year. Involves, and in that case, that is a project that's received WIDA tax credits, and those tax credits are restrictive of income, so it will make sure that the project is affordable for local renters. Some of the units are held at the affordable level, and some are market rate, so some are below market, specifically designed just for that. And that project is by the same developer who did Tri-Quarter Flats and the federal building previously, so that's it'll be a similar kind of project in its scope and scale down on that section. So I think that's kind of hopefully encompasses some of the efforts going on. We're also just kicking off now a metropolitan strategy with our peer communities. This has never been done in kind of like Wausau history. So we're meeting. We first had our first meeting with all the other communities in the metropolitan area. So that would be like Schofield, Mosedy, Weston, Red Mountain, that kind of stuff, to devise a kind of cohesive or shared economic development strategy. And so I think for many years, all the parties have competed against each other in some way or another, and that's not unusual. But we want to have an opportunity to work and to come find some shared common ground. So obviously we have a lot of shared common ground when it comes to infrastructure issues, transportation, workforce development, all those kind of questions are clearly regional issues that affect all of the Wausau metropolitan area, not just where the city's boundaries end and other boundaries begin. So that strategy will be ongoing, and I think it's kind of exciting to do it. I'm not sure where it will lead. Some have not been optimistic that it'll lead anywhere, but it's a positive thing that it's at least happening, I think, and a positive thing that all those communities are sitting around the same table, sharing their thoughts about the future, sharing what they're focusing on, because I do think it's that we have complementary goals in a lot of ways. People say to me, well, Wausau is competing against Weston for this kind of stuff, and I was like, well, I mean, yes, in some cases, but when you think about it, Wausau has its own unique competitive advantages. There's no such thing as downtown Weston, and so the assets of Wausau are unique to Wausau. We are really the city of the the region, if not the city of the north. And that's a kind of moniker that we kind of embrace and say, then we should be ensuring that we're that we're developing and enhancing city services and city amenities that other communities can't compete with, right? And so I think that's obviously the main goal on the strategy piece. And then, of course, on the mall today, we had a press conference on the mall. The mall is not, obviously our main topic of focus, but it's also something that we perhaps have ignored or not paid good attention to for many years. And so that's why, starting last year, we've made a very conscious effort, to try to address the mall and to really move it forward, beyond its current situation. There's a lot of moving parts. It has a very unique structure. We'd be glad to answer your questions on structure if you have those issues. Today, another step has been taken. The current mall owner will be, essentially, turning in the loan to the lender. They're stepping aside in the process. I think we've been very clear with them to say that if they're not going to move the mall forward, then they need to move on. Is the way it's been heralded. The mayor has been very strong with CBL to say do something or get out of the way, because it's very important that we do move forward. And CBL has kind of if you look back at the history of their ownership, and they of course too bought the mall at one point. Their dedication has ebbed and flowed over the years. It's important that we move forward on it. So now there are opportunities for the future of the mall. I say that in a way of, obviously we can't go into too many details, but I feel very positive about, the way in which the mall can be repositioned and opportunities to do diversification at the mall over time. And obviously the city has a role in that, whether we like it or not. As many of you probably know, we own the land underneath the mall. It's a unique structure, and it's very unusual, really, across the country. That's not very common. And so we're a stakeholder in the process. We don't control the whole future. Some folks say, well, why don't you just do this or do that or tear it down? Or we're not the only stakeholder, but we are one stakeholder in the process. And the key is working with vested stakeholders, other owners that are going to be cooperative and who have a vision for what could be done with the property and with the mall. Clearly, I think everyone agrees it needs to be repositioned. Malls are not growing across the country, right? Their era is past. It needs, it needs a diversification of uses. It needs to be kind of reinvigorated in a lot of ways. It's kind of the term we've said. But it does have existing tenants. It does generate, cash flow that isn't too shabby by mall standards, when our experts examine everything. And some of the stores in the mall do quite well. So, it really is a goal of diversifying, repositioning, and doing something. And obviously we know that anchor retail especially is not, is dying everywhere. A lot of anchors are leaving, and the anchor places really do need to be repositioned. So the city is obviously working, to determine options for the Sears location, and I think there will be a positive end to that, hopefully, as we work on it. So, your questions? No, you have to ask a question. I don't get paid if you don't ask. Yes.
Any more thoughts on the shoe store downtown across from the 400 block that the owner's going to retire, and any thoughts on that? Are you involved with that?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, obviously the owner has the building for sale, and if we couldn't go into details, but I can say that the city has been approached by some different potential buyers who have a vision to do some different things with the space. And that would be very exciting. The city worked with Main Street, Wisconsin to develop, to potential ideas for the space that would kind of enliven it, and even activate the rooftop. That was one of the kind of visions for it. All of those ideas come with costs, and they come with costs and with opportunities, right? So it's a balancing act of figuring that out and then seeing what could be done and what financing is possible. And if obviously if the city needs to participate, we usually have been good about doing that. And as you might know, the city's resources are always gap financing, so we're in a role of filling a small percentage, usually 10%, 20%, something like that, of the financing of a project when it's necessary to really redo something. And that's, maybe the project has difficult topography, or it has environmental issues, or it has, foundation issues. A lot of the riverfront has a lot of foundation issues related to the kind of unconsolidated fill that had been placed along the river over the years. As you might imagine, there were, logs and just all kinds of junk thrown in the ground and then kind of piled over. So, that's a gap in the construction of the project that, if it was built on another site, wouldn't exist. So the city has a role of filling that. And we always fill that through the tax increment finance district, which is a special tool. It's a special taxing district. It's really a main tool of economic development in Wisconsin. It does not, affect, the general fund in that short term, because obviously the improvements that they're making to the property, a portion of the increment, or the amount of new taxes that they're creating, then goes to help solve that gap, fill that gap for the project. So it only happens, the increment is obviously only created because the project is being proposed, and a small use of that increment for these improvements is traditional. And you can debate whether it's a good project, a bad project. That's what the council does every day, right? The balancing act between balancing the investment of the increment and making sure that we get the project. Because obviously we want to see the tax value grow in the city. And so we have a long track record of doing that. Over the years, many projects have obviously received this kind of incentive, and those kind of resources or loans or whatever might be used to improve the Cavalry 2 or another project in downtown. Good question. Yeah. More questions?
What do you feel is the biggest hurdle, or the first major accomplishment for the mall?
Sure. So I think
forward, obviously.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Commercial real estate, especially in a mall, is very momentum driven. So, everyone is on the sidelines waiting to see something happen, right? And this is it's very common. So, there's a lot of stores that even do well are trying to read tea leaves and see where is it going to go? What's going to be this, kind of win that makes them feel that they can solidify or reinvest, right? Because it's very momentum driven. So when things are not doing well, you have a lot of things kind of fall, bless you. There are a lot of things kind of falling apart quickly, and then it accumulates when things are growing. So you have to turn the momentum. That's a big issue, and it's a big issue for them all. One could argue that the momentum has been stalled or declining for quite some time, probably even 5-10 years, and I think most people kind of acknowledge that. And perhaps the city should have been more proactive in turning it earlier, or the mall owner should have been more proactive in turning the momentum earlier. I mean, you can debate whatever, but here's the situation we are now. So I think the real win will be a change in ownership that allows one of these opportunities which are on the horizon to actually come to fruition and show positive momentum. The good thing is there's not a whole lot of things that need to happen for the mall to be sustainable. There are malls in the country. I'm from Ohio originally, and in Ohio there's like dozens of empty malls, and they're very, and it's a very challenging environment because, they're in neighborhoods where the retail process has just totally changed. You know, a new lifestyle center or new, you know, facility has been built, you know, kind of very close to them and has sat all of the same retailers away. We have only one mall in the region. There's not going to be another mall. There are certain stores in the mall that don't go to strip malls. They only go to market through malls. And we don't have a very big mall. This has always been this debate, you know. Our market intelligence and real estate folks have been analyzing this situation for a while. It's like, well, our mall, you know, is 80% occupied currently, and with a couple wins and a couple of repositioning of one of the anchors that really shows positive momentum, the leasing revenue and sustainability can be set forward in a positive way. And that's, you know, we're always trying to do it in a bang for buck kind of way too. You know, a lot of folks say, well, we think you should just tear down the mall. Okay, well, you know, one, we don't own the building, so they have to be acquired, and two, it's very expensive to tear down the mall. So, I mean, you know, it's like, or we should do a casino, or we should do this or that. And it's like, we're not even making commentary whether we should or shouldn't do those things. It's just, are they practical? Are they possible right now? Is someone proposing that? And what would be the opportunity? And so we're just trying to be as proactive as possible, address the opportunities at hand. I do think that something will happen that that will turn momentum at the mall, you know, in some kind of configuration. And then hopefully upon that momentum, continued diversification, continued, you know, kind of redevelopment. It's going to take a long time. You know, we've been very open with that. And I know everyone seems insatiable about mall news or about, you know, wants to see something happen overnight. Well, I would argue we didn't get ourselves in this pickle overnight, and we're not going to get out of ourselves overnight either. You know, it's been 10 years of kind of wallowing or gradual declines, and it's going to take time, you know, to kind of see it through its through that process and through its renovation and redevelopment. And it won't be retail focused over time. You know, I mean, yes, there'll be some retail focus, but you know, there's a lot of other uses that we've met with. Some have been in the paper, you know, through various channels, but you know, those are the users that we're talking about: entertainment, restaurant, office, hotel, things like that are going to be different and going to diversify the space in the mall. You know, and that's the best thing for a community in the long haul. And if we can land some of those and move that forward, then it'll work.
What's the latest on the Yonkers lease? Is there a deadline with that? And
there's not. Yeah, good question. There's not a deadline. They are essentially month to month on in their property at the moment. That property is owned. The building is owned by an outside investment arm, not by Yonkers corporate. So you know, they too, I think, are watching the process, watching the sidelines. You know, CBL's plan originally last year, when we told them make a plan, you know, they came forward with a plan and said, we're going to move Yonkers to Pennies, we're going to renovate that space, and then you know, we're going to hopefully win a couple other wins in the main line of the mall. And then as we do that, we're going to release the existing tenants with positive momentum. You know, it was perhaps an inelegant plan, like it's not a grandiose plan, it doesn't come with splashy pictures and fireworks and the whole thing, but it was, you know, you could argue it was practical. And this was a heavy debate, right, in the community, and everyone had an opinion on the mall, good, bad, I mean, everything. And yeah, it's very hard to, you know, to work through. There's a lot of moving parts. Obviously, you know, the older we grappled with it, we had many experts work on the issue. You know, and they came to the decision, the previous council came to the decision, okay, we'll take that plan, you know. But, you know, the Sears announcement certainly complicates the plan. You know, even up to late April, I think April 22nd, Sears had told us that that the store was remaining, it was not going to close. You know, even though everyone knows Sears is not in good shape. And, you know, everyone knows that Sears as a company may or may not exist, you know. But, you know, we were, you know, obviously CBL was hedging, thinking that, you know, CBL or that Sears would be around at least for a couple more years, and that they were going to be at this location for a couple more years. They communicated that to CBL, they communicated that to the city. They announced on April 22nd the closure list, and Wausau was not on that list, if you go back and look at the list. And so then, but after that announcement, they went back and I think due to pressure from investors and from other organizations, revised that list and changed, chose to change what they, they added to that list. And Wausau was added to that list. So at that time, it complicated their plan because they were hoping for, a good year of releasing positive momentum, the new Yonkers opening, stuff like this. That's not it's not a secret. We've detailed that many times. That put them in a state where they had to debate whether they wanted to continue moving forward with it or whether they just said, hey, and it wallowed for a while. And we've been very clear with them because, obviously there are other opportunities that are on the horizon. We've been clear, and Mayor Milby has especially been holding them accountable to say, make a decision, or go, and I think, obviously they're saying, well, they don't want to lead it anymore. So, it'll go through a process and there'll be a new owner at some point that comes out of that process. It's not unusual. I mean, every year CBL, returns a series of malls to their lenders. In fact, last year, when this was heavily debated in the community, every couple months, it would be in the paper that CBL's returning a mall in, I don't know, Fort Myers, for example. There was one down there that was actually very successful in the sense that it was 100% leased. It was actually a very successful mall. But the deal, the financing on it, they didn't like. It's like kind of like, you like the house you have a lot, but, you refinance it at a bad time and you just don't like the financing deal. So you might walk away with it. It's not because you literally run out of money. It's just you say, I don't want to, I'm never going to get ahead of this. And so, that's kind of their issue and their prerogative. And you could say that CBL hasn't been, overly thoughtful about that. They should have been perhaps more careful with the Wausau situation. It's all hindsight at this point.
Well, they're having problems too.
Yes, they have lots of problems. I mean, malls and mall owners in general have various issues and momentum issues, and they own a lot of malls, and Wausau has always been kind of a difficult mall for them to deal with because we have a lot of special provisions and rules that they don't like dealing with. The special lease, for example, that they don't have to deal with at their other properties. So, I think, in general, that's we as the landlords, we've been very clear to communicate to the whole world that we seek an owner who is going to be vested and a good partner and going to reinvest in the mall and to reposition it. And if you're not going to be, then you need to move on. More questions?
Has anyone talked to Sears yet from the city?
Yes.
Are they talking about potentially the city having a buyout option?
There's, we're in discussion. We have been in discussions, and we're working on all options related to it.
Any further discussion from the county as using the mall, especially the Sears area, as a to expand the jail and other services and combine them all?
It's a fine question. We've asked the county that. They've said that they're not interested. You can ask the county if you think it's a good idea. We did want to be open with them to say, hey, what is your vision for the for the property? And they do have an adopted master plan for their expansion of the jail and their offices, and that plan is, I'm sure they could provide you a copy of the plan. It's an adopted document, and they have it enclosed within their block, so they have, it's a broader approach. They would tear down, some of the old part of the building and rebuild it and expand it, but they're not seeking that property.
But the county is also renting the parking spots in the city ramp, right?
Yes.
So the county is using the parking ramps.
Not a
in the mall.
Yep. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
So
say this is kind of weird for me to be in this whole uniform thing. I mean, I had to wear it for about a year, but I had to start the day with giving a presentation to a bunch of preschoolers, and if any of you have kids or grandkids, you know that safety talks is probably not the most interesting thing, and I think every one of them was like, hey, what's that? What's that? So, over my 7 years of working here, I found out it's a lot easier just to wear your uniform, so they can check that out and actually pay attention. So actually,
distractions like that.
It's awesome. It's like the easiest presentation ever. So getting to some of the stuff, I know we're kind of tight on time here, so I'm going to kind of fly through some of the stuff that you can read through on your own. So on the front page here, I actually assigned to CSO to do a quick write-up on some of the stuff that's important to some of the community resource officers this summer. So they decided they were going to do a write-up on parks, because they've been noticing a lot of issues around parks. So they did that. They did a very good job on it. I just kind of read through it to make sure there's no spelling errors and stuff like that. So it was a very good article. If you read through it and have any questions, my contact information is on the left side there. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever's easiest for you. I also want to draw your attention to, and I'm apologizing to the other neighborhood group leaders, because this is totally going to be like, what? Why didn't we have this at our meeting? So what I did is we switched to a new calling system a couple months ago. I think I gave a talk and it was called Nixle.com, or Nixle. What happened is we are trying to gather information from all the different telephone companies and upload it into the system so that I can go back to sending out calls. You were getting calls, I think it was about 3 months ago, where it would be my voice and they'd be like, hi, this is the Wausau Police Department on behalf of the Riverview Mtg Group. We have a meeting at this date and this time. Right now I'm not able to do that because I don't have all the 911 information and all the phone numbers uploaded at this website. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I've created a different group for each one of the neighborhood groups, and probably next month I'll do a write-up on how to sign up with that, and we'll actually do it here with you so that everybody can get signed up on it, and then you can continue to get phone calls, and you can actually customize it however you want. So if you want to receive phone calls, you can. If you want to receive emails, text messages, whatever's easiest for you, you can set it up that way. So we'll go through that next month, but just for time's sake, I'm not going to go over it. But just know that next month there will be a new kind of way of doing that. Neighborhood group leaders, I will send out an email probably next week early, giving you all the information. So if you'd like to send that out early to get people signed up, I can start sending out notifications ASAP. So I will do that. I just created all the different groups yesterday, so I'll send that email out next week. If you flip over to the next page, this is the top here. This is from raidsonline.com. Anybody can log on to this website. So say you see a police car at your next door neighbor's house, and I do this too, and I work for the police department. They're like, hey, why is there not at your neighbor's house? You can actually log on to this website and type in the address or type in your address, and you can see any calls that are associated with any type of address. So if you wanted to look up the police department, for example, you could type in 515 Grand Avenue, and it would show you all the calls and the call types that are associated with a specific address. So the cool thing about that is that if you're a landlord, or if you have a son or daughter or something like that you want to keep tabs on, you can check on that. Just log on to raidsonline.com, and it's super easy to just type in an address and take you right to it. So as you're looking at the top of the page here, you're like, hey, there's a red fist down there. What does that mean? So one of the additions to this month's briefing sheet is there's a chart on the right, and that just explains what type of call it is associated with that specific area. So the red fist there, that one's an aggravated assault. I don't have statistics on each one of them. Usually what I do for each month is I go through each neighborhood group and I look at some of the bigger calls that are associated with those specific areas, and if they're worth documenting, then I'll throw it on the bottom. Some domestic type instances I leave out because there's some complications with open records laws there. But so this is a specific, when we say domestic violence call, that's why it's not on the bottom, just in case anybody's curious. If you look on the bottom of there, where it says what you should know. So again, last month I was not able to attend the meeting. I had probably the craziest month I've had in my career. We've all heard about the heroin overdoses that were going on both within the city of Wausau and pretty much throughout Riverview County. This case kind of fell on my lap. I had received some information, some drug information that we developed a suspect through. And that suspect was later arrested at McDonald's downtown. After a short foot pursuit, this person was taken into custody and later interviewed. this point, because it's an open investigation, I cannot release a lot of information, but I will be able to draw a conclusion for you very soon. With that being said, on that traffic stop, we seized, actually I take that back, I'm totally in the wrong spot here. So we seized a lot of heroin and a lot of methamphetamine out of the vehicle. The specific target actually said that they used the methamphetamine themselves, and we had probably thousands of dollars worth of methamphetamine in the car that we seized. So they used the methamphetamine themselves, and they'd sell the heroin in order to keep up their methamphetamine addiction. So the issue with this was that when we seized the heroin, we were trying to figure out why there would be so many heroin overdoses in the area. What we came up with is that the heroin was actually laced with fentanyl. So whoever was cutting this heroin to make it into smaller batches to push it out was actually lacing with fentanyl and then pushing it out, so you're doubling your product. The problem is that when you're having somebody who's using heroin and they're using bad batches or weak batches, and you lace it with fentanyl and they're not used to using it, it can be deadly. What we know is that there's been one death. It's not directly related to this specific batch. I guess it's just a suspicion at this time. However, with the use of Narcan and some other medical advances, that nobody has died. So we do know there are overdoses. There's specific things that we look for when responding to those type of calls. But again, I'll be able to release all of the information here very shortly. So that's one of it. The next one, where I actually skipped ahead here, the traffic pursuit. This was also mine. This happened, I think it was the day before this meeting. No, I take that back. It was Tuesday. So what happened is this was actually a controlled buy for methamphetamine. I had an informant that was involved in purchasing methamphetamine. So we go through specific instructions with these people about how we would expect you to conduct business and how you're supposed to buy drugs and so on. We're monitoring every aspect of that controlled portion of that purchase. This one did not go so well. Informant did not follow instructions and got into a vehicle. Safety concerns for both officers, informants, and dealers. So we figured we'd let it go for a little bit and see if they dropped him off, because if they get out of the car, we're good. It did not go that way. So we followed him because of the not knowing who the dealer was, not knowing where they were going or whose car they were driving, anything like that. We decided we were going to stop the car for everybody's safety, and it ended up taking off. We chased it for about a mile and a half. It ended at 13th and McIndoe over on the kind of the south side of town. And everybody fled from the car. Short foot pursuit happened with the dealer, and then we got into a physical altercation with him. We seized 16 grams of methamphetamine off his person. So he had 16 grams just in his pocket. And then also delivered 3 grams to my informant. So needless to say, he's in a little bit of trouble right now. He got arrested for, I think it was 8 different felonies, including fleeing from police officers, as well as fighting with police officers, as well as the methamphetamine in his pocket. And believe it or not, he was on probation for possession with the methamphetamine with intent to deliver. So he's in a little bit of trouble with his probation agent too. And then also the latest thing that's been in the news is the counterfeit currency. So the reason why I bring this up is because these have been passed all over town, as well as the Addis metro area as well. What we were seeing with this is they were fake $20 bills that were being passed. And it's kind of a trend that we've been seeing lately, is that you'll see 1s, 5s, 10s, and 20s that are being passed, because it's really easy for somebody to just take it without thinking about it. Usually if you pass a $100 bill or something like that, you're like, hey, this is kind of, I should check and see if this is real. So a lot of times if you think about it, if you go to a gas station or something like that, you pay the $5 bill, you don't even think about it anymore. You don't look at it, anything like that. So that's why it was a little bit easier for them to pass the $20 bills. 4 people were actually arrested in this. I can't even tell you how many bills were passed. I can tell you it's a lot. Obviously, it's a felony in itself to create fake money. However, at the amount they were passing, I'm guessing the feds are probably going to get involved in starting investigating that, just because of the amount. So 4 people were arrested with that. We're still getting complaints about the counterfeit currency coming through. What happens normally is somebody will accept that currency and then bring it to the bank, and then the bank will find out that it's counterfeit, and then we kind of have to backtrack and figure out where it came from and if it's related to all these other things. So those are just some quick updates. The other thing I did not know about the paintball incidents in the area. I stepped out when I heard about it, to call dispatch, and they said they were really busy, and so I'll have to look at it tomorrow. I'll also shoot that in an email to you probably tomorrow and get you that information so you can get that out. So I apologize, I did not hear about that and did not come across my desk, so I'm not too sure, but I'll get you an answer about if there was a suspect or any information on that. So if you flip over to the last page there, so this is statistics from all 6 sectors. You guys are Sector A, which was 169 calls last month in Sector A. And then just underneath that, there's a chart of how each sector is laid out next to each other. And then also to the right of that is a pie chart of just statistically how each sector compares up to each other. So that is the briefing sheet. I know it's kind of short, but does anybody have any questions or concerns right now? All right, just to move it along, I will be here afterwards. If you do have any questions, anything like that, just come let me know. Thank you.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the speeding at the beginning, the paintballs. Also on next door, someone from Forest Park had posted a message that someone was taking pictures of their home. I'm not sure if that was ever resolved. A number of neighbors offered suggestions as to who it could be. And then also on next door, there was a note about a break-in at the daycare center on Evergreen on July 10th.
Okay, sorry. One more thing, actually. So with that, that is actually, so the way that the city is split up is on Evergreen, actually. And because it was on the other side of Evergreen, it's actually a Marathon County Sheriff's Department case. I was aware of it because they put out an email throughout the county saying, hey, we have a picture of the suspect. Can somebody please identify the suspect? So we do have pictures of him. I have not gotten an update on whether that person's been identified or not. However, I know that they're working on it. It's actually, if you do have any questions on it, it's Detective Blazer at the Marathon County Sheriff's Department that is handling that case. So he'll be able to answer a little bit more than I will. All right, Marlene.
Okay, I did go to this meeting and stuff. We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was all. I'm sorry I was late. I was in town hall. I just wanted everyone to know, I know that this meeting has come up numerous times and on next door. And I finally did have a sit down with Chief Hardell and Matt Barnes. And you will be seeing, I just met 2 officers. You will be seeing more officers in the area. And that's not all that's going to be happening. I'm talking to DPW about doing some speed studies, especially on Golf Club Road. I know that's a big one. Woodland Ridge is another one that I get constant calls about. And Mark Court, a little boy almost got hit. So you'll know what they are. Those are those black rubber things that go around. Well, anyway, they can determine the speed of vehicles, and that can be taken. The police will have a better idea of time and time of day, speeds that people are going, so there can be more enforcement. But and Captain Barton said, they need to hear this more and more because we don't get a lot of calls in this area, so they think everything's fine. But the speeding, when you don't see a police officer, sometimes they think they can get away with it, and they push the envelope a little bit more. And so we're just going to try to pull that back a little bit. I know that's been a complaint for many times here, and then through me being a council member. That the paintball thing, if you're seeing somebody, that's happened about 11 o'clock at night, it seemed like, and it was boom, boom, and I know that there was spotlights coming down Woodland Ridge. So Woodland Ridge, I heard one from Margaret and Crestwood. Right, so, be aware, this has happened other years, but if you see something, call. Let's catch these dudes. That's not right, that's not good. I don't think there's anything else. I had Robin kind of go over that. I think that was it, wasn't it, Robin?
And the only other piece that we wanted to go over is, this was our last planned topic. So we would like speakers. So we would like to plan speakers for the next 3 months. And we're just going to ask, we could provide a list, but we thought it might be helpful just to ask for suggestions. You can give us names of people from the city or the county, or if you just have topics that you would like addressed, but you don't know who would talk about them. So I did just bring like some little sheets of paper. What I'll do is I'll set them on the table up here. Feel free to just take one, jot down ideas, and we will look into how we can get those people here.
And it can be even speakers from the community. It doesn't have to be a government person. Anybody from the community
It could be
you think you would like to hear from, that would be great.
Like humanity, Salvation Army, anything.
Anything that you think we would like to hear about.
Or could be a specific topic,
Yes,
a
topic.
concern topic, something that you would like to learn about, you would like to know about, we can all do it in person. That's really fine. We need to know about you, we need to know, we need to interact. We want to interact with you and learn what would you like to know.
Right.
So in order to try to bring the right.
Okay, so I'll just set these papers over here, and if you have some thoughts, feel free to take one, and then any one of us can collect them before you head out.
I also wanted, I'm Deb Ryan from the Westies neighborhood. At our neighbor to neighbor meeting that was a week ago, one of the people that attended is involved with the churches in the area, Naomi, and about having this healing event on the 400 block. So they're hoping this will be a way for people to gather together and make all lives better, and that hopefully it won't be a police presence per se. It will be done jointly between the churches as well as UWMC students. And so if you can get the word out to other people as well, as a kind of a peaceful getting together.
Okay. When this is going to take place?
August 20th, I believe.
Yes. And they have to, yeah.
I'll email you a copies.
Okay, so thank you for coming, and